The first transaction for the accounting plan of the barangay is the appropriations and obligations. The budget of the barangay as authorized by the Sangguniang Barangay through an appropriation ordinance serves as the authorization for the barangay to incur obligations. The chairman of the Committee on Appropriations shall be responsible for the proper monitoring and control of the barangay budget. To have a sound and order transactions, there are specific policies and procedures for the appropriation and obligations. 1. Expenditures or obligations shall in no case exceed available appropriations. 2. The duly approved barangay appropriation ordinance shall be recorded in the record of appropriation and obligations that shall be maintained by the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations. Separate records of appropriation and obligations shall be maintained for the following: 10% share for the Sangguniang Kabataan, 5% share for the Local Disaster Risk Reduction Management Fund, and 20% share for the Development Fund. 3. The record of appropriation and obligations shall show the annual and supplemental appropriations and the obligations charged against the said appropriations. It shall be used to monitor the availability of appropriations to cover proposed expenditures or obligations. 4. Charges against the appropriations shall be based on the obligations made as shown in the contracts or purchase orders and in the disbursement voucher and payrolls. 5. Based on the record of appropriation and obligations, the chairman of the Committee on Appropriation shall certify as to the existence of appropriation on the contracts or purchase orders, disbursement voucher, or payrolls. As such, the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations shall regularly update the record of appropriation and obligations by posting all certified obligations to determine available balance of the appropriations. 6. The chairman of the Committee on Appropriations shall report the charges and balances of appropriations to the Punong Barangay and the Sangguniang Barangay monthly through the statement of appropriations, obligations, and balances. It shall be certified correct by the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations. And lastly, 7. The Punong Barangay and Sangguniang Barangay shall use the statement of appropriations, obligations, and balances in the evaluation of the status of barangay finances. The next transaction for the accounting plan of the barangay is the collections and deposits or remittances. The barangay treasurer shall be responsible for the proper handling of the funds of the barangay. Before digging deeper into it, let us first define receipts and deposits. Receipts are all the collections in the form of cash or checks from the share in national taxes and revenues, barangay taxes, and others, whereas deposits are the monies or other equivalents received by the bank from the agencies for safekeeping. Where does the collections of the barangay are coming from? Barangay collections include but are not limited to the following. First, share from the national and local taxes or revenues. Second, barangay fees and taxes. Third, other fees and charges. And fourth, from other receipts. The share from the national and local taxes or revenues comprises internal revenue allotment, utilization of national wealth, tobacco excise tax, real property tax, tax imposed on sand, gravel, and other quarry resources, and community tax. From the barangay fees and taxes, it can be from fees imposed on peddlers, use of barangay properties or facilities, parking, or other clearance and certifications and other fees. It can also be from the taxes imposed on stores or retailers within the barangay and penalties for violation of barangay ordinance. The collections from the other fees and charges can be taken from the operation of cockpits, places of recreations and the likes, fundraising activities, charges on billboards, signboards, and other outdoor advertisements, use of barangay-operated public markets, and operation of other barangay economic enterprises. And for the other receipts, it can be from subsidies or financial assistance from national government and provinces or cities or municipalities. It can also be from the grants and donations received, dividend or interest from investments, and proceeds from loans and other indebtedness and sale of plant, property, and equipment. The barangay treasurer shall observe the policies and procedures in the management of collections and deposits or remittances. The following are the specific policies. 1. All collections, either in cash or in checks, shall be acknowledged through the issuance of an official receipt or other specific purpose receipts like real property tax receipt, community tax certificate, or pre-numbered cash tickets. 2. The prescribed officially numbered receipts shall be issued in a strict numerical sequence. Strictly, erasures and alterations are not allowed in preparing the official receipt. 3. All particulars in the official receipt shall be filled out. Duplicate and triplicate copies of the official receipt shall be the exact carbon copy of the original. 4. Temporary or provisional receipts shall not be issued to acknowledge collections. 5. Only checks in the name of the barangay shall be accepted as payment of obligation to the barangay and issued the corresponding official receipt. The official receipt number and date of issue, including the payer's control details, shall be indicated at the back of the check for reference purposes. The details of the check shall be indicated in the space provided in the official receipt. 6. Collections shall not be used to encash checks or pay barangay obligations or liabilities. And 7. Collections received by the barangay treasurer as deputized collector of the city or municipality shall be remitted intact to the treasurer of the city or municipality concerned at least once a week or as practicable, especially during heavy collections. So now, let's move on to the specific procedures for the collections and deposits or remittances of the barangay. Upon the receipt of cash or check payment, the barangay treasurer shall issue an official receipt to acknowledge the amount received. The official receipt shall be issued strictly in numerical sequence, and it shall be prepared in 3 copies to be distributed as follows. Original copy will be for the payee. Duplicate copy will be attached to the report of collections and deposits for submission to the city or municipal accountant, then forwarded to the auditor, and the triplicate copy will be the file of the barangay treasurer. At the end of the day, the barangay treasurer shall deposit the collections by preparing 3 copies of deposit slips for the bank's validation. The original copy will be for the bank. The duplicate copy will be attached to the report of collections and deposits for submission to the city or municipal accountant, then forwarded to the auditor, and the barangay treasurer will have the copy of the triplicate. The barangay treasurer shall also prepare the report of collections and deposits to summarize daily transactions. The barangay treasurer shall also record daily in the cash book the total collections and deposits made during the day based on report of collections and deposits. And lastly, the barangay treasurer shall forward 2 copies of the report of collections and deposits to the city or municipal accountant together with the supporting official receipt and validated every end of the week for recording in the Journal of Cash Transactions. There are instances where collections are received by the barangay treasurer as deputized collector of the city or municipal treasurer. So, upon the receipt of cash or check, the barangay treasurer shall issue an official receipt provided by the city or municipal treasurer to acknowledge the amount received. He shall also fill up the official receipts in triplicate copies to be distributed as follows. The original copy will be for the payor. The duplicate copy will be attached to the original report of collections and deposits and submitted to the city or municipal treasurer upon remittance, and the triplicate copy will be attached to the duplicate copy of report of collections and deposits for barangay treasurer file. The barangay treasurer shall also prepare 3 copies of report of collections and deposits based on the duplicate official receipt. The original and duplicate copy will be for the city or municipal treasurer, and the barangay treasurer will have the 3rd copy. The barangay treasurer shall remit daily the collections, or once the collections reach 5,000 pesos, to the city or municipal treasurer together with the 2 copies of report of collections and deposits and the duplicate official receipts. Upon receipt of the collections, the city or municipal treasurer shall fill out and sign the acknowledgement portion of the report of collections and deposits to signify receipt thereof from the barangay treasurer. Aside from the barangay treasurer, collections may also be made by the deputized barangay collectors. Collections shall be remitted daily to the barangay treasurer by the deputized barangay collectors. He shall also prepare report of collections and remittances summarizing daily collections. And the barangay treasurer shall acknowledge receipt of collection by signing on the receipt portion of the report of collections and remittances. So, for all the remittances, it shall be supported with report of collections and remittances. Collections and deposits for the barangay shall be recorded in the cash book maintained by the barangay treasurer based on the report of collections and deposits. The municipal or city accountant shall summarize all the credit memos, including debit memos, received from the bank with the bank statement of barangay in the report of bank debit and credit memos, and furnish the barangay treasurer copy of the report of bank debit and credit memos as basis in posting collections. The report of bank debit and credit memos shall likewise be the basis of recording that transactions in the Journal of Cash Transactions. Collections received through the bank or directly credited to the depository account of the barangay shall be recorded in the cash book based on the report of bank debit and credit memos. Upon the receipt of the bank statement, the city or municipal accountant shall prepare a monthly bank reconciliation statement. Requisitions for new accountable forms for regular corrections of the barangay shall be made from the city or municipal treasurer. And requisitions and issuance of accountable forms shall be reported in the monthly report of accountability for accountable forms. Accounting entries for the collections and deposits or remittances of the barangay. The report of collections and deposits and report of bank debit and credit memos shall be the basis in recording collections and deposits of the barangay. The pro forma entry to record the collections based on report of collections and deposits is debit cash in local treasury, credit asset account, liability account, or income account. The pro forma entry to record the deposit of collections based on report of collections and deposits is debit cash in bank, local currency current account, or LCCA, credit cash in local treasury. And the pro forma entry to record the collections through the bank based on report of bank debit and credit memos is debit cash in bank LCCA, credit income accounts, real property tax, internal revenue collections. Problem number 1. Throughout the month of July 2020, the Barangay Walang Pag-asa made the following collections and remitted it to the City Treasurer and authorized Government Depository Bank respectively. Community Tax Certificate as deputized by City Treasurer, 6,000 pesos. Collections from the Barangay. Permit fees, 7,000. Clearance and certificate fees, 10,000. Garbages fees, 12,000. So to record the collections, debit cash in local treasury, 35,000 pesos, and credit due to local government unit, 6,000 pesos, permit fees, 7,000 pesos, clearance and certificate fees, 10,000, and garbages fees, 12,000. To record the remittance of collection to City Treasurer, debit due to local government unit, 6,000, and credit cash in local treasury, 6,000. And lastly, to record the deposit of collection to authorized Government Depository Bank, debit cash in bank LCCA or local currency current account, 29,000, and credit cash in local treasury, 29,000. Problem number 2. In July 2020, the Barangay Walang Pag-asa received a credit memo for the bank representing direct deposit of barangay shares from Internal Revenue Allotment